Deadpool and what's going on. This is now Disney. We're staying in that conversation, and this is what worries me about Deadpool is that it will ultimately become PG-13. Now, I do believe you can make it work. I believe there are storytelling elements in Deadpool that he can break the fourth wall and try to curse, and it's beeped out, and he says, "Oh man, that's what happens when you get bought by Disney."
Yeah, exactly.
And you can address it that way. But what worries me is that it's what everybody thinks is going to happen, and that it will happen,
right.
And that instead of doing
that'll be the fifth wall.
Yeah.
Because then we come up with it, and that's not as fun.
Right.
And another wall.
But what worries me is that what Fox was doing was Deadpool seemed separate from their X-Men universe. I know there was a cameo in Deadpool 2. You can argue canon all you want. But it seemed very separate from – it was their own universe so that we could get it R-rated, we could get it a little bloody and disgusting, and we could get some cursing on it. Now – by this report, David Leitch was talking to Yahoo, and he basically said they're trying to figure it out. Let me pull up the article. Actually,
I just think it's interesting that they're debating or whatever's being debated, if they are debating the fact that it should be PG-13 or rated R, because the first movie was so successful that what is the real reason into expanding it? For I know, I understand. Is it just more money? Like that's literally it? Because
you get more. You can get more butts in the seat if it's PG-13.
Well,
also, it's to incorporate him into the MCU because of what the MCU has already been. We're going on 25 films after next year. It'll be like 25, 26 films in. And so now when you put him into that, what's already been established, you have a bit of violence. Yeah, you have the action. You don't have that language, which Deadpool is predicated on. You don't have the violence level that Deadpool is predicated on.
And I'm not so much about the violence, but I do want to see my International Women's Day jokes.
Right.
And so that's the problem that I have with Disney is that they're very anti-sex. It's just for some reason they think sex is bad, and it's not. Sex is great as long as it's safe and consensual.
Right.
And so that pisses me off. Like that's like that. Why would?
Well, there are two things here.
Although they did show Captain America's butt in Endgame. To be fair.
To say America's ass.
I get that the MCU is established. It has a certain tone. There are certain things that we expect for it. And if somebody comes in and drops an F-bomb, that would be, oh, wow, look at Marvel.
Yeah.
So I get that. But why can't Deadpool just exist under the Disney banner and do it as is because R-rated and Disney can't do that?
Maybe
Iger said at one point, we know Deadpool. He's working. We're going to figure this out. But here's what David Leitch says. It's rated R, so that's not necessarily the MCU brand. But he doesn't necessarily need to be R, and Disney doesn't necessarily need to only make PG-13 movies. I think we'll find a happy ground.
I mean, sorry, really quick, Roxy. I think the best result for this would be for them to keep a Deadpool movie rated R, but then when he shows up in an MCU movie, like that's not his movie, then make that PG-13.
So that's exactly what I was just going to say.
Perfect.
Because I'm a rated R person,
right?
Yeah.
And I can go into situations that are not rated R and not be rated R. So it's exactly the same thing. I think that this has nothing to not nothing to do, but I don't think this is about money actually, though, as much as it is about brand. They don't know if they want an R-rated movie attached to the brand.
Yes.
Because what that does for, I guess, ultimately money, because in the long run, not money on the specific movie, but for the future of the industry and their title and whatnot. But I do think that it's stupid to make this movie a Deadpool standalone movie, a PG-13 movie, because it will limit the creative ability that they have, and it's working the way that it is. And with this character specifically, he really does need it in his own movie.
Yes, and
that's what Marvel Knights is for.
Exactly, and you look at it's not working. This thing made the first Deadpool and the second one, I think, in the 700 million range of worldwide. That's a lot of money. That's what some of the MCU movies do.
Yeah.
And the Deadpool movies are doing better than some of the MCU movies in box office alone. So don't fix what's not broke.
Yeah, and I mean, and also all of
I know.
our...
That's what I was trying to remember. I was trying to find it. Don't broke what's not fixed.
It. Yeah.
Here's what David Leitch also said. There's a lot of mystery still surrounding what they want to do with Deadpool in Disney's Marvel world, but I think from discussions that I've heard, it's all positive, he explains. I think that they're just trying to figure a way in as Deadpool is hard.
Hey.
He said words. I just think make a Deadpool movie like they did with Fox. It didn't necessarily connect to the X-Men universe that was already going on.
Right.
Just let Marvel Studios have it and just say, Marvel Studios, do this. Let it be. Like you just said, when he comes into the Avengers or the Guardians or anything like that, he has to be PG-13 with a hard reference. He doesn't have to swear as much. But let him be. Can
you picture Deadpool walking into a scene with, let's say Deadpool walked in on the scene on Infinity War where Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man were all hanging out and talking. And Deadpool walks in and goes, "What are you fucking assholes doing?" And it's bleeped. He goes, oh, that's right. I'm in a Disney movie. Okay, hey, guys. And it just goes from there. I love that idea.
I believe he would have gave us the no shit Sherlock line.
Yeah.
To Doctor Strange and Tony Stark. If you'd looked at it, Tony Stark was still around. He gave him the no shit Sherlock. Yeah. I know.
Is the question?
I'm just sad him and Spider-Man can't flirt because Spider-Man's still a kid.
Yep. But as Marina said before we started recording, once he turns 18, he's legal.
Yeah.
And Disney ain't touching that.
They are not going to touch it.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's to the integrity of the character. Do we, I don't think we need to change it. And
So would Sony have that Spider-Man do that, though? Because remember, Spider-Man's technically a Sony property. Yeah, Marvel's borrowing him.
Right.
So let's just say the next Spider-Man movie, the Spider-Man 3 one, you can technically ask Deadpool to come over and do something. Do you think Sony would allow it? Because remember, we got to fuck in Venom.
Yeah.
We got to fuck in Venom.
Yeah.
So, you think Sony would allow that Deadpool to come over and have some flirtatious joke with Peter Parker?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I think that's too much now. I think Spider-Man is a...
I think it's too much.
It's too much. The Spider-Man deal was legendary, obviously. And it I think is the outlier. I think it's just because Sony's property wasn't doing too well after Amazing Spider-Man 2. I read some article the other day, Marvel had been pitching this for a while. Then the Sony hack happened. Those emails came out that they were talking about it. The fans went nuts. Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't do very well, so then they started playing ball. I don't think Sony needs Deadpool.
No, I think Sony needs to just keep doing their animation stuff. I think they need to keep doing more Spider-Verses. That has nothing. You don't need the sex and violence there. You just need to do that wonderful work of art that you did.
But we've heard from Disney, and everybody brought up Hollywood Pictures and Touchstone were movies like Touchstone.
Roger Rabbit was
Roger
Touchstone.
Rabbit.
Remember, Disney had Miramax when Pulp Fiction came out.
Disney had Miramax. Disney had Touchstone. Touchstone did Pretty Woman. That was back in the day. That's a little bit of there wasn't a lot of, gratuitous scenes or anything, but that was a story about a guy and a hooker, and Disney was behind that.
Scandalous.
Scandalous. So why can't we have?
What?
I don't like that.
You don't like Pretty Woman?
I don't.
Darina's mentions are about to get flared up.
I think it's boring. Is that bad?
No, it's not bad. Everybody has their own taste, but I can't believe you think it's boring of all the things.
Wow.
I don't know. I love the actors. I just think it's boring.
I'm not.
To each their own, dude.
Is anybody really shocked, though?